Several weeks ago, we looked at some very useful and practical Instagram tricks. Since you really liked that video, we've made this second part and we'll probably consider it as a section of the channel. Today, we're going to look at some new ones. Let's get started. My father sent me these as well. I've seen some of them and others I haven't. Let's see. Let's start with the first one. He's picking up two pieces of wood and trying to join them with a clamp. And since it doesn't work, he's designed some kind of accessory to be able to join them. I find this accessory super interesting, mainly because it would help us make angles. For example, if we have to design a piece of furniture or a frame, it would be a very practical way to do it. Another painting tip that I really like is that when you use the brush, the paint always drips everywhere. She puts a tape in the middle and that way she can wipe off the excess much more easily. I find this trick very interesting and very practical, and I'm going to use it. The next one is also about painting, and it's that when you pour it, the paint runs down the side. That happens to me all the time, so she puts a bit of tape on it and uses it to pour it more easily without making a mess. I think it's very practical, and I'm definitely keeping this idea to use it during renovations. In this one, she took a balloon, put a bit of tape on it, and then added the hot glue. This really scares me because I don't like balloons popping at all. It makes me panic. At first, the balloon doesn't burn and she manages to stick it onto a platform, and then she makes a mixture, which is probably a mortar-like paste, and she starts covering the whole balloon with it. And she'll probably use this as a vase or something like that. Honestly, I find it very interesting, not just as a vase, but also, for example, as a flower pot. Then she uses a spoon on it, but we could also sand it or use some kind of cloth or something like that. On the inside, once she has it, she finishes reinforcing it, basically because otherwise it could break more easily. A couple of sanding touches, and that's it. Look, here I've used it as a planter for this type of plant. I think it's a really good idea and we'll do this on the channel soon. I also find this other idea very interesting. In fact, I sent this one to my dad. And it's a storage method that I find practical. And it's about placing some simple baskets on a piece of wood. We can use it for storage, or in this case, for example, as a fruit basket. We can really give this type of accessory many uses. The next one is cutting a tube and a piece of wood and sets up a table. Hey, very practical. Here you have to imagine the rest. It goes by really fast, but well, it's easy to picture. He uses the tube to make the legs, and then, well, he uses the wood for the top and makes it like a little table in the middle. I think it's very beautiful and has a very elegant design. In the next one, what he uses is a kind of hook. And this is probably, well, it is, look. To place that on some wood and create a table that you can pull out when you're not using it or set up when you need it, it could be a desk table. The truth is that it's very practical and it would work for more than one room. In the next one, she puts a washer on the drill and then uses it to screw things in. I find this type of accessory very interesting and actually will use this more than once. I remember that sometimes we see these things and then I forget about them, so I have to check them from time to time, but I think it's a really good idea, okay? Well, the next one is a problem that we all usually have. I think it's when you're about to drill a hole in a pipe, and what it does is before you use the wrench. What he does is make a hole in this same wrench, and then that way he can hold it and make the hole. I think it's very practical. And the truth is, it's useful for renovations. In this case, we haven't used copper pipes, but it's true that we could use it for any other type of pipe. It could be, for example, plastic. The next one is with wood, which I love. I would like to use wood more than I do, to make furniture and little things like that. And what he does is mark a strip horizontally and vertically so he can fit it together. And I think I sent him this one, and it's mainly because of this. When it comes to screwing plywood, we often have complications and the wood can split, like in this case, so here he burns it and apparently screws it in perfectly. In fact, in the other one we did, many of you said I should test if these kinds of tricks really work or not. So most likely we'll try out these kinds of things and see if they work or not. I have my doubts, but hey, if they do it here, it must be true. In it, we find a way to screw it in so that the screws aren't visible. And what he does is take out a piece of wood, and then, by putting a little glue on it, he sticks it back on. And the truth is that once it dries and is sanded, you can't see anything at all. When a screw gets loose, a very good solution would be this one. To use some plastic as filler, and together with glue, then you can put the screw back in. The next one, I'm not exactly sure what he's doing. Is it to join a piece of wood that has broken? He threads the string through so the glue can get in between, and then he can stick it together very easily. Honestly, this one had a lot of little tricks and they're really good, really cool. The next one is for screwing or nailing, I'm not exactly sure, for screwing one piece of wood to another. And what he does is remove the top part, put on the glue, and then, with the pre-made holes, he places one piece of wood on top of the other. I find it very interesting for making joints, but not just for joining vertically, also if we need to make an angle. The next one is for applying, this one is really cool too, and it's for applying silicone or glue. In this case, it's silicone. We already saw one that did it with a kind of plastic cup, and this one does it with a spoon, and like that, apparently it turns out perfect. I don't know if she's just very skilled or if it really works well, the trick. The next one we're going to see is with a hot glue stick, and she puts the nail on the stick so she doesn't have to hold it. This is really, really good, because often when you're holding a nail, you end up hitting your fingers more than once with the hammer. So this way we can do it without ending up missing a finger. The next one is fitting a piece of wood, and I guess it's loose. Oh, well, he wants to screw it in. So he makes two holes, one on top and one on the bottom. He puts glue on it and then just puts in the dowels. I think it's a really good option if we want to assemble furniture or anything we need to join wood. The next one is about screwing, which is a little trick, about screwing and the wood splitting. This happens a lot. And it's with a self-locking screw, I think that's what it's called, correct me if I'm wrong. But self-locking screws, basically what they do is prevent the wood from expanding. Very interesting as well. The next one is about box cutters. He attaches the measuring tape to the cutter so he can cut at the right distance. And this is very interesting, especially for what he's cutting, which is drywall. It's sometimes very hard to keep the distance, so if we have a reference like the measuring tape, it's much easier to cut. The next one is placing, what is this, sandpaper maybe? It looks like she's putting sandpaper on an accessory. Once she gets it, she pours a liquid that we don't know what it is and puts hot melt glue on it, screwed onto a bolt. And this is useful for us, well, look, to use it as a sander. I think, in fact, we already saw something similar in the previous one, and it's an inexpensive way, even though they're already sold ready-made, but well, we can make it at home, in a homemade way. And the last little trick we're going to see today is this one with the jars, which I've already seen more than once, but I find it very interesting. And it's to screw the lid somewhere so we can place our jar on top. And it's a way to keep things organized, especially smaller items. And these would be the tips we've covered for today. I don't know what you think. You can let me know in the comments. If you want me to try any specific one, you can say so too, and I hope this has been useful for you. See you very soon on the channel. See you later.